Esse podcast é um oferecimento de Samsung Galaxy AI. E sabe o que mais ele te oferece? Que tal um intérprete em tempo real na palma das suas mãos para você nunca mais ter problemas em viagens ou reuniões? E falando em viagens, não precisa mais ficar com aquela foto torta. Com a câmera aprimorada, você deixa sua foto genial sem ter que baixar outros apps. Tem tanta coisa que o Samsung Galaxy AI pode fazer por você. Clica aí no banner para descobrir o que. Galaxy AI, a inteligência artificial nas suas mãos.
Tem um momento na carreira que precisamos dar um passo além. É hora de fazer uma pós-graduação. Só que muitas vezes o custo pesa no bolso, inviabilizando tudo. Com a pós-graduação do Senac, você não tem esse problema. Cursos com até 50% de desconto e muito mais tempo para pagar. TCC opcional, modelo flexível com aulas presenciais e online e alguns cursos com apenas 12 meses de duração. Não tem mais desculpa, hein? Saiba mais em sp.senac.br/pós-graduação.
MisFitNation. MisFitNation.
Awesome.
There will be days when you're falling down. There will be days when you're inside out. There will be days when you fall apart. Someone else will break your heart. They're never gonna hold you back. I'm always gonna have your back. So try to remember that. I hope you're happy. I hope you're good. I hope you get what you wish for, and you're well understood. And now I'm standing here looking at you. I'm wondering what the hell you're gonna do with those Dr. Pepper eyes and your bubblegum hair. Yeah, I'm standing right here. I remember how I held you so right. I remember that Saturday night. Do you? There will be days when you're falling down. There will be days when you're inside out. There will be days when you fall apart. Someone else will break your heart. They're never gonna hold you back. I'm always gonna have your back. So try to remember that.
All right. Welcome back. If you were a veteran and you were struggling or feel like you were leading a path towards the darkness, stop and think about those who are around you. Think about how they truly value you, how they will miss you. You are not alone. You need to talk to someone. Someone will listen to you. If you feel like you'll be a burden to someone or embarrassed to talk to someone that's in your inner circle or your family, call the anonymous hotline at 1-800-273-8255 and press option 1. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you were a new listener, thanks for joining us. Please subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast apps, to include the Military Broadcast Radio app, and check out our family of shows there with multiple veterans having their own shows on there. You'll find something you like in their niche that fits your lifestyle. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at _MisFitNation. That's _MisFitNation. This will keep you up to date on our latest news, episodes, and of course, the stories of our guests. Speaking of which, our next guest is a dean of students, sports chaplain, author, and motivational speaker. He's a former track and field athlete at Virginia Commonwealth University, VCU. He blogs at Fatherhood on the Fly, where his slogan is, this is a good one, everyone, we're learning, we're growing, and we're getting better one day at a time. He uses a combination of encouragement and humor from daily experiences with his boys to inspire dads from different backgrounds to embrace the journey of fatherhood and all that comes with it. His first book, Slave No More, Conquering the Master Within, was released January 4th of this year. He is married to Kierra, and they have 4 sons, PJ, Joey, David, and Noah. So without further ado, let's welcome Paul Henderson to the Misfit Nation. Welcome, Paul.
Hey, Rich, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. I'm excited about this. I've been looking forward to it all day.
Awesome. I was looking on your LinkedIn. I seen we're both connected to Mr. Alan Simmons, great young man right there. Yeah, I had him on the show a while back.
Yeah.
A very inspirational young man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Alan's a friend. Alan is a friend. Absolutely.
Yeah. He's a great human, I like to call him. So that's good. Yeah. So Paul, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your backstory from as far back as you want to go to how you got going with what you're doing now.
Sure. So I'll go back. I'll go back to my childhood. I'm the second of 6 boys, and Rich, when I first saw your podcast, one of the things that I just really connected with, it was just your relationship and your encouragement to veterans and your focus on veterans. I grew up with my dad working at the commissary on Langley Air Force Base. Now the interesting thing is my father was not in the military, but my grandfather was. He served 28 years in the United States Army. So my dad was definitely in. He was born. He was definitely an Army brat, I guess is what they call it. So he was born in Fort Eustis. Ended up traveling the world with my grandfather, and my grandfather ended up retiring from Fort Monroe. Just a heavy military background. 4 of I believe all 4 out of 5 of my uncles served in some branch of the military. 2 of my brothers currently serve in the military. 1 graduated Naval Academy. 1 is an educator like myself, but he's also in the Navy Reserves. So that's 2 out of my 5 brothers. So just throughout my family, that's just what I knew all of my life. Even though my dad wasn't in the military, very, very familiar with it. Definitely grew up in a sports family as well. My mom was a athlete, high school and college, and she played basketball at Hampton University. And then that which led to my athletic career. I ended up, all of my brothers were athletes, baseball, football, basketball, from the high school up to the professional level. But for myself, I was a track and field athlete. I ran in high school, which led to my career at Virginia Commonwealth University. I ran the 400 meters and 800 meters there. And when I was there, I got involved with a group called the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Now, for me, during some of the toughest seasons of my life, you mentioned these hotlines. I remember going through some challenges, in my personal life that led to me feeling like, is my life worth living? And there was a group like the Fellowship of Christian Athletes that reminded me that I had a hope, that my life had value, that there was something bigger out there for me, and that really quite honestly just encouraged me to keep on living, And then that led to actually a career with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And then I taught for a while, got in corporate America for 4 years. And now here I am In 2022, I'm the dean of students at a small Christian private school here in Richmond, Virginia. I'm the dean of students, athletic director, and I'm absolutely loving everything that I do because I have an opportunity to pour into the lives of students, and who are our future. And I tell you what, I'm loving every day of it.
That's outstanding, and that's what we were talking in the pre-show about how busy you are. Just reading your bio, dean of students, author, blogger, and nowhere in there did it mention dad, and that's even a bigger job. You have 4 boys you're raising, and it seems like boys do run in your family since you had 5, but you had 5 or 6 brothers.
Sure.
Your dad had a bunch of brothers, so a lot of boys in the family. So you had some knowledge on how to raise them. But I'm sure having 4 boys at home, that's a full-time job, because boys do get in trouble. Boys do get hurt. They do crazy things. Then you go and you're the dean of students. I'm sure there's a bunch of boys there that need a little twist every once in a while to do the right thing, and that keeps you busy as well. So how do you manage all that? I mean, it's a lot of stuff going on at once.
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, my wife and I, we've been married for 10 years. So what we do is our faith is very important to us. So that comes first. And then we love to focus on each other, figuring out how can we be the best versions of ourselves for our boys. So for us, that's like, okay, we're going to work on our marriage and be as strong as we possibly can be. That's not without fault. I mean, in the first 5 years of our marriage were very tough, quite honestly. But around 2016, we saw a shift, and this was right before I wrote my book here, Slave No More, Conquering the Master Within. So what ended up happening was during that time, I had to learn how to be selfless. I had to learn how to take my eyes off of myself. Yes, I've spoken at this event. Yes, this organization has asked me to come speak, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, I'm coming home. And when I come home, my family needs me to be present, starting with my wife. So once I learned that, and quite honestly, it's still a learning process. And you mentioned my slogan: we're learning, we're growing, and we're getting better one day at a time. I say that because I've messed up so much that I had to learn to just take it one day at a time. And from that, Rich, I began to learn more about fatherhood, learning how to be more intentional with my boys who are 9, 7, 5, and 2 years old. And then along with that, being a good example for them, not just teaching them the right way, Rich, but modeling to them things that I'm teaching them. So rather than me saying, hey, you need to apologize to your brother, are they seeing me apologize to my wife if I drop the ball? Rather than telling them to own up to their mistakes, how about me modeling to them, if they see me make a mistake, how about I apologize as well and own up to it so that they're able to see what I'm teaching in action. And you know what, quite honestly, Richard, it's the same. That's how I ended up getting this job as the dean of students, because the head of school saw some of the things that I was writing on my blog. And we're talking about owning up to your mistakes, taking life one day at a time. Every day we're faced with choices. Which choice do we choose? And he said, you know what, I think the things that you're sharing there, which I'm still learning, quite honestly, would be good. You'd be a good example for the students that we have here on our campus. So it's definitely a daily thing. It's a daily journey, and I'm learning, quite a bit as I continue to grow day by day.
That's the only way we can do things. If we stop learning, then we become irrelevant. I believe that's something I like to say. If we don't admit that we need to keep learning and growing, like just like your slogan says, it's the perfect slogan. We become the person that's outside looking in and not present, like you just said. You got to be omnipresent now, especially in the world we live in now, where everything's technologically advanced. And if you're not on a device, you're not linked in or whatever. Especially for the boys as they're growing up, as they get into their teen years, they're going to be on their phones and they're going to be chatting with their buddies and stuff like that. It's good that you set the example of being present when you're home with them. That's a perfect thing to do, and be present when you are present. And of course, when you're absent, also be present by your actions. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, like I said, it's a learning process. And there are times where I have to, say I review my day and I look back, or or perhaps I was really hard on my boys, but I didn't spend as much time with them. I have no problem, saying, I was a bit harder than what I should have been, because I learned at the end of the day, they'll remember that. They'll absolutely remember that. And once again, I want them to learn from my example rather than just the things that I say.
Exactly. And I think that'll go a long way in their lives, and it'll spread onto their children as well. So it's a great thing you're doing. We spoke about your book a little bit at the beginning. You showed it just now, Slave No More, Conquering the Master Within. It was released just this year, but I was reading a little bit on your backstory, how you wrote this. If you want to share your writing approach and the hours you were writing this book, and that's pretty strong resolve to what you are as your passion to get this book out and also be available for your family during the day.
Oh, sure. So the idea actually came probably around 10 years or so ago. I knew that I wanted to write. I didn't exactly know what I wanted the topic to be. Now, a bit of background, my major was history at Virginia Commonwealth University, and my master's was in teaching. So I did take a lot of courses on slavery, and learning about slavery in the Caribbean, slavery in the Americas. And then you will read documents like the Emancipation Proclamation. But one thing that I noticed was around that time that they did the Emancipation Proclamation, even though that was a document that said, hey, all slaves are free, there were still some who, even though they had their freedom, they went back and worked for the same slave master. And I always thought that was a very intriguing fact. Like, man, these guys are free, but they're going back and working for the same slave master. Now, I can't, pass judgment because I don't know what it's like to have been a slave, as in owned by someone else. I don't know what it's like. But at the same time, I would also see those who figure out a way to make a life for themselves and their family, and they embrace their freedom, no matter how challenging it was. Yes, there were bumps in the road and so on and so forth, but they say, you know what? I have a vision for freedom that I'm going to keep in front of me, and that vision will help me, keeping that vision in front of me will help me to achieve a better life for my family. So what happened was I would just in current day life, I would see all of these situations. I would see person A who was faced with a certain set of circumstances, and then I would see person B who has the exact same set of circumstances. Person A would find a way to overcome, and I really believe that overcoming starts with a decision. It absolutely starts with a decision. And person B is still talking about the situation. And I'm like, so what separates person A and person B? And I tell you what, Rich, and every single person that I interviewed, I saw a common thread, and that common thread was a strong, clear vision. A strong, clear vision to say, you know what? Yes, these are the cards that I'm dealt. This is the circumstance that I have, but I have something ahead of me that I want, whether it's for myself, for my family, for whatever that vision is. You keep that thing in front of you. Every single person that I interviewed, who eventually became characters within my inspirational fiction book, they all had that thing in common. I have a strong vision. I have a vision, even though I couldn't go to school for 5 years because of the color of my skin, I have a vision to be a nurse. So I'm going to keep the vision of a nurse in front of me. Therefore, when I go back to school, I know I have something I'm aiming for. So what happened was in around 2017, actually, I was teaching at a private day school. I just left the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I was teaching. I said, you know what? This is what I have my master's in. I'm teaching. This is awesome. I'm back where I'm supposed to be. A little pay cut, but it's all good, right? So 5 months into the job, HR shows up and says, "Hey, we're shutting this campus down. We have three other campuses. They'll stay open, but this particular campus, the one you're working at, Paul Henderson, we're going to shut it down." And I was distraught. My wife and I, we were at a tough part of our marriage. Once again, I mentioned 2016. We were already overcoming that tough part of our marriage. We had 2 children at the time, third one on the way. We were overcoming the challenges that we had in our marriage. And what do you know? I don't have a job. What ended up happening, yeah. So that January, the job shut down. You think you're gonna find a job right away. It didn't happen. A couple of months later, you still don't have a job. And I ended up feeling like I was going down a tunnel, but I couldn't see the end. I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then I went to an event. And this is the power of a mentor. One of my mentors came to town and he said, you know what, Paul, you have a little bit more in you. You have a little bit more in you than probably what you're given. You know, you don't have a job right now, but perhaps you have time for something else. Maybe there's something that you've been passionate about that you really didn't have time for. Now you have that opportunity in front of you. You see, I read this a long time ago, Rich, and it's this. In every adversity is a seed of equal or greater benefit if you have a positive attitude. So I was in an adversity, wife, 2 children. Actually, by this time we had our 3rd child when I went to this event. We had wife, 3 children, no job. You know, what's going to happen? But the same night that God told me this story, it's the same night that I wrote the words "Bobby was frustrated," which were the first words in this book. And you know, it's been pretty cool. So after I started writing, you know, I would look for jobs in the daytime, and then between the hours of 12 a.m. and 3 a.m. I'd write, you know, and then I would get up the next morning, look for a job, and then between the hours of 12 and 3 a.m. Sometimes my wife would be up nursing the baby. Sometimes she's sleeping, and then I say, "Hey, I think I got another chapter," and she's right there with me, celebrating along with me. And it's amazing. That even during that process, it was also part of the healing process with my wife and I as well, being that we were spending that time together. So it was pretty cool, Richard, how it all turned out.
Yeah, when I read that the hours you were doing, I said, this guy's amazing. Just basically working on maybe an hour and a half of sleep a day almost, and still pushing forward, like you said, with the adversity lies to see an equal or greater benefit if you have a positive attitude. You had that positive attitude. You started to write the book. Bobby was frustrated. It was your first line you said, right? And then
yes, sir.
You move forward with it, and you came out with an entire book over time. Of course, no one writes a whole book in a day, so don't worry about that. And you took your time, you did it right through interview process. You met a lot of great people, I'm sure, and built your network along the way while interviewing a lot of great Americans along the way to find out the true roots of the cause of things and write a great book. And I love the title of the book, your slogan, and then of course your blog, Fatherhood on the Fly. That's great, especially having 4 boys in the house. I'm sure it's a fun thing, and you get to write those notes every night in that blog and knock some stuff out there.
Yeah. It's fun. You know, the cool thing about it is my wife and I were talking recently. It's like the common thing between Slave No More, Conquering the Master Within, and Fatherhood on the Fly. We're learning, we're growing, we're getting better one day at a time. The common thread is the one day at a time. Because every story that's told through this book, every character that this young man Bobby sits down and has a cup of coffee with, has lunch with, has dinner with, they're telling their story of how they overcame adverse odds, whether it was some type of racial discrimination, whether it was some type of health or physical ailment, whether it was some type of sexual trauma. They're telling their story of what they dealt with and how they overcame. And the common thread was a clear vision, but they did it one day at a time. It wasn't like, you wake up one day and all of a sudden everything's changed. No, they literally say, you know what, I have a vision, to overcome whatever their given circumstance was. And Bobby was learning through their story how one day at a time you can choose to overcome. And the best place to start is right where you are. And it's the same thing with fatherhood. It's a one day at a time journey. Whether you didn't have a father in your life, or perhaps your dad was there, but maybe he was a bit absent, or whatever the case is. If you want to be better and provide a better life for your children, it starts with one day at a time.
Exactly. And when I had my daughter, people wanted to give me books on how to be a father. I said, I don't think a book can tell me how to be a father. I have to learn. A book isn't going to tell me how to react when she goes to the bathroom on me, or how to react when she pukes on me, just by circumstance. It doesn't tell you that in a book. You got to learn that on the fly. And like you said, each day was a new learning adventure. The day she fed the goldfish a cup of milk, I mean, that was a learning experience. And we lost all our fish after struggling to get that thing clean and working. But we learned and we grew that day. We knew not to feed it milk anymore, or not to feed the VCR Cheerios. That's also bad. But there's no book that tells you that stuff. And like you said, learning on the fly and each day, one day at a time, is the best way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Absolutely.
So Paul, I mean, I know you're busy. I know you got a lot of things going on. You had one book out. Do you have a second book in the works already, or do you have an idea for a second book?
Yeah. So thanks for asking. I appreciate the question. So I definitely have an idea for a second book because I thought it was going to be the first book. But when I started writing it, the story just took a path of its own, and I'm very pleased with the direction of it. I've gotten a lot of really good feedback from a diverse group of individuals from all backgrounds. You name it, you name the background. Somebody from that background has found a lot of value. So that's been very encouraging. So the next book is hopefully going to go down the path of the original intent.
Right.
So we'll see it, but at the same time, what I didn't have at the time was a story format. I thought when I initially started writing that it would be, more of a book with simply principles. But what I found is that writing it as a story, a lot of people said that it was actually easy to read. So as you're pulling the principles from every story, it's almost like you're following this young man's journey, and you're learning as he's learning. And so being that I've gotten such good feedback, I'll more than likely stick with the same format. And then also a school that I spoke at, amazingly, the same school that had the layoff and shut my campus down, they had 3 other campuses. And who would have thought that 5 years later, that same organization would be the first outside organization to ask me to come speak to their students. So that they actually asked me to develop a workbook. So that's something that we also have in the works as well, that we're developing a workbook to help, especially the sweet spot is probably young adults. But man, I tell you what, the 7th grade class in my school is reading this. And in this other school, I think it's in the 10th and 11th grade class to reading it. So we have a workbook that's in the process as well to help us grow, one day at a time.
That's outstanding, and again, keeping you busy, keeping you on your toes, and keeping your brain going straight and forward all the time. So,
yes, sir.
I mean, it's a blessing for you to keep that knowledge base growing each day and able to share it. And also, like you said, 5 years after you were let go by that school, you were invited back. So
right.
If they didn't have to close that school, they would have kept you. Obviously you were of value to them, and they knew that, but they couldn't afford you at the point. So they brought you back and they applauded your efforts, and now you're in their school with your book, and their students are reaping the rewards of your knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely appreciate those kind words. It was, I tell you what, it was a different campus about an hour away, but it was definitely surreal to walk back in there, knowing that 5 years prior, I was like, where am I, what's my next step? But to be able to share value and still, not hold a grudge, but to say, hey, you know what, you all have a great mission. And if I can still partner with you and, and help and affect the lives of the students, really quite honestly, get rid of my ego for a minute and put the students first. It was impactful. It was definitely impactful, and it was definitely well worth it.
I see it helped you on your path, and like you said, every action, it leads us to another path as long as our attitude's in the right direction. And I think your attitude is perfect for what every adversity you've been handed. You've been on the right path, or the path to glory, I like to call it. So yeah, that's a great way to do things. Where can people pick up the book right now?
So a great question. You could pick it up at any online retailer. Your Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Amazon, of course, Target, wherever you typically buy your books. If you go online there, you can pick up the book online, absolutely, and definitely leave a comment and review, and it's always appreciated.
That always helps on both sides of that one. Yeah,
sure.
And how can someone get in contact with you if they want to have you either maybe come to their school or speak digitally to their school to talk about the book and get their students riled up and pumped up to read the book?
Sure. So you can reach me on Instagram at fatherhood_on-the-fly.com. Fatherhood_on-the-fly. That's fatherhood_on-the-fly. On LinkedIn, it's Paul A. Henderson. So if you typed in the link in with the /PA Henderson 2, That's where you'll find me. And then my website, which actually has links to both, is paulanthonyhenderson.com. That's paulanthonyhenderson.com. And a good email address is slavenomoreBook@gmail.com. That's slavenomoreBook@gmail.com.
Outstanding, Paul. Thanks for taking some of your time this evening to share your knowledge and your journey with us. It's been a great chat. I look forward to your next book coming out and maybe having you on again for that release.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rich. I really appreciate your time, and I absolutely love what you're doing. Keep on being an encouragement and a light.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp. I turned my collar to the cold and damp, when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people writing songs and voices never shared. And no one dared disturb the sound of silence. Fool said I, you do not know. Silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you. Take my arms that I might reach you. But my words, like silent raindrops, fell and echoed in the wells of silence. And the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made. And the sign flashed out its warning, and the words that it was forming. And the sign said the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls, in tenement halls, and whispered in the sound of silence.
You know how we do this. Thanks for taking some of your time to spend with us on MisFitNation. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and share the link as much as possible. If you want to, please become a supporter to help us carry this thing on. We appreciate you. If you know someone that brings that energy, has a great story, is an up-and-comer in the industry of music, in the arts, have them reach out to us on themisfitnation.com. We will get back to them within one day and get them on here so they can share their story with the world. As always, till next time, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are MisFitNation.
Dancing in the kitchen, you singing my favorite song, swinging on the front porch, just laughing at the dogs. How you swear you love me more when you're whispering goodnight. All those little moments are every reason why I'm homesick. This feeling that I'm feeling, no, we don't quit. It's like half of me is missing, heaven knows it. That all I wanna do is be alone with your brown eyes are tangled up, just holding on to you tonight until morning. Baby, that's the damn truth. If home is where the heart is, I'm homesick for you. It says Kane Brown on a sign with a line out the door. They sold out some little town I've never been before. Yeah, they're screaming my name. This is what we dreamed about. But out here singing about you, baby, all I'm thinking about is how I'm homesick. This feeling that I'm feeling, no, it don't quit. It's like half of me is missing, heaven knows it. That all I wanna do is be alone with your brown eyes are tangled up, just hold on to you tonight until the morning. Baby, that's the damn truth. If home is where the heart is, I'm homesick for you. Don't quit. It's like half of me is missing, heaven knows it. That